Money makes the world go round. Have too much of it, you can't live in peace. Have too little of it, you can't live at all. But can money buy happiness? That is what we're going to be discussing today. And I think that you and me have, well, I don't know, maybe we think quite similar on this, but when we spoke about it many months ago, we had very different thoughts on it. What do you think?
If money can buy happiness.
Yeah, I mean, obviously in the literal sense it can, but overall, can it?
Yes, I think for most people money can buy happiness. Because why most people aren't happy could probably be solved with money. Let's say a lot of people are in debt. And that can put a lot of stress on you, both like mentally and you can do other things. And maybe some are in need of healthcare to fix things.
But I think you're looking at this from a practical perspective, whereas I'm looking at it from like a philosophical. It's like, the way I see it is, no shit. Like, can money buy happiness? Yeah. I mean, if like you need money to survive. If I had no money at all, or you had no money at all, if both of us had no money at all, we wouldn't be eating.
No, but look, money could buy, like for me, money could buy happiness. Because I could do everything I wanted. I could help out my loved ones.
Yeah, but wait, that's the point I was going to make. Because, yeah, of course you need it at a most basic level to a point, obviously. Otherwise, you die. You live in poverty. You're not going to be happy. But what I was thinking was, and this is why I don't think it can, up to that point, is that you think of how many rich people there are who are so unhappy. Think of all the rock stars who have millions, they have mansions, they got all the drugs they want, because for some reason they're always coked up. What do they all end up doing? They all end up committing suicide. Or they're all depressed. There's a lot. That's why I said at the start, have too much of it, you can't live in peace. It's like, to a lot of people, the problem and the reason why they're so unhappy in life isn't money. It's themselves. It's their character flaws. Like, you have a family member who we won't name, who was notorious for getting in debt, right? If you gave that guy millions, he would just end up losing it all, and then he would be right back at square one anyway, because it's a character problem. Yeah. That's what I'm thinking.
The question was, can money buy happiness?
Yeah, but you got to look past, like, anyone with a brain would say, if you're starving to death and you're on the verge of like dying, and you get given some cash so you can get some food, no shit, that's going to make you happy. Like, that's like a 1 IQ position. But I'm thinking of it from a bit more of a next level thing. Like, if you gave, like, is it the be all end all? Is that like the ultimate? Is money like the ultimate thing, or is it to a point? And I think it's to a point.
I think, I said for most people, for a lot of people, I think it could.
I don't think it is for most people, though.
Well, I think it could, because it would change their lives so drastically. I mean, if you were somebody who is terrible,
temporarily.
If you're somebody who's terrible with money, that as soon as you get if you got this large chunk of money, you'd spend it all on, I don't know, prostitutes or whatever, then obviously the fault is with you. You are just a messed up person. You don't know how to handle money. But if you know, you have a little bit of knowledge how you could spend this money well, then I believe it could buy happiness. I mean, if you're on your deathbed and you're going to die of cancer or something, and the money can't save you, well, obviously it can't buy your happiness or your family's happiness, because you're going to be gone. And if you're completely alone, you don't have any family whatsoever, and then you get a bunch of money, well, maybe money can't make up for, family, love, friends, stuff like that. But I'm saying for most people, I think that money could buy happiness.
I don't. I think, this is what I think, right? I think when people, if you find out you won $1 million tomorrow, or £1 million if you're in the UK, whatever, God forbid €1 million, they're going to be worthless in a few years. But anyway, besides the point, 1 million of whatever, right? And you find out you're rich, you're obviously going to be over the moon for a while, probably for over a year. You're going to be like, oh my God, imagine, remember that shitty house I used to live in? I'm now in this mansion, I got this great car, whatever, right? You're going to be really happy to start with. But eventually, and it's as we were talking about earlier, before we went on, you get used to being that wealthy. your quality of life, the average, is now being rich.
Yeah, but
It's like if you take someone who's third world and you put them in a first world country, even in like a shitty council estate or like a redneck trailer park, they're still going to be over the moon because, hey, it's not third world. At least, you know, they don't have to fear dying out, you know, every day as they would over there. But most people, if they in the first world, if they lived in a council estate or a trailer park, they're going to be suicidal or really depressed or something, right? It's all relative. And I think you get used to having a certain amount of wealth after a certain period of time. And what I was thinking was, if you're not happy being average, you're probably not going to be happy being rich unless the fundamental difference is something that money can buy. You know what I mean?
Yeah, what I mean is you can be happy with the money if your problems can be solved with the money. Like, why am I?
But a lot of people's problems, even if they're rich, they'll just get more problems. It's a character flaw.
Yeah, I know that. That's why I'm saying money can't buy everyone's happiness. But I'm saying most average people today, I think the majority of their problems comes from not having enough money.
I agree with you if it's the underclass or even the working class people, because yeah, that is the case. I mean, you and me both lived in a shitty place for like a week, and that was awful. And that was basically, it wasn't a council estate, but it was abysmal. I remember the only thing we had in the house, we had literally no furniture at all, and the only thing we had in the house was a bed and an iPad. And whenever we'd go outside, I would hide the iPad under the bed because I was scared it wouldn't be there when we got back. And it's like, yeah, if we had more money, we could go to a nice neighborhood and et cetera, et cetera. But as I said, if you're, it helps to a point. It's like we would still have problems even if we were in a nice neighborhood. I'm not saying it's the magic wand and it will cure everything. Obviously, it's not. But that is what I'm saying. It's not the cure for everything. And if you're fucked, most people, you can't just use money as a scapegoat for all your problems and say, oh, if only I had money, you know, I would be so happy and everything would be a success. It's like, people who think like that, I think, would be fucked even if they had loads of money.
Yeah, but look, just because you're happy doesn't mean everything is perfect. Happiness doesn't mean everything is perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you could still have issues or character flaws and be happy. I mean, I don't get it.
I think that we both agree and you just don't realise it. I think we both agree money will buy happiness up to a point. Like, it will help people who are in real poverty or are involved in a crime-filled neighbourhood. But the average Joe, bollocks.
No,
Bollocks.
why not?
It would because after the initial joy of winning all this money, and then they get used to the new life, and all the materialistic objects have been promoted, the house, etc. After that sort of honeymoon period has dwelled off, they're going to be right back to where they were before. It's in human nature to always crave more. You know.
Yeah, that's why I'm
Even the
saying.
richest man on the planet, Jeff Bezos, who's a billionaire, is probably upset and cries at times. And people would go, what the fuck? You've got like a net worth of $100 billion and you're still upset?
Yeah, but being happy doesn't mean you can never be upset. Being happy is,
just temporary.
content with life.
Yeah, but it's just temporary.
Satisfied. No,
It's
not.
temporary happiness because you get used to it. You get used to your new standards.
Well, it depends on who you are and what you do with the money. And also,
True.
obviously, your circumstances. If you don't have any friends and no family whatsoever, and you just sit there with this nice house and anything, no, obviously you wouldn't be happy. Or if you have a bunch of problems, maybe there's a lot of conflicts in your life, and you're terrible with money, or I don't know, there's things happening.
Well, that's a good point. It depends on the person.
Yes.
It's like if you're a creative person, and creative people generally aren't wealthy because creativity is typically not rewarded anymore as it used to be. If you give a creative person loads of money, because they've got so many ideas, etc., they're going to go off the rails with it. They're going to love it. But if you give some twat who, I don't know, smokes weed in his mum's basement a million. He's just, as you said earlier, they're just going to buy a bunch of prostitutes, probably buy, some Snoop Dogg mansion, and then they're just going to lose it all because they're a moron. Like it depends on the person. But the fundamental question, really, isn't even can money buy happiness. It's, are materialistic objects the be-all, end-all of happiness? And the answer to that, I think, is a universal no. It's all temporary. Because, as I said earlier, it's in human nature to crave more and more money. I mean, what would we do if we had $1 million? If we got $1 million in our bank accounts right now, what would you do?
Oh, well, first of all, I'll say, why do you think that people are just going to spend the money on materialistic things? I don't think so at all. Imagine...
What else are you going to spend money on? People?
No, a lot of people are in debt. What about medical things?
But my logic was, if you're in debt, if you've got in debt, and it's not for something that is so bad luck or unbelievably critical, like healthcare or something, you wouldn't spend the money well anyway, because you didn't spend your own money well.
Oh, imagine if somebody has gone to college and they have a lot of debt.
That's your fucking mistake. You shouldn't have gone to college and got in debt.
Obviously,
got your gender studies degree.
I imagine it puts a lot of stress on somebody, and it can be a huge relief when you can pay that off, or you can pay off the debt of your family or your friend or whatever. And in America, the healthcare thing, like, imagine not having to worry about that. Imagine if you
okay, bear with me then. They've paid off the debts. They're stable. They're stable. They're in the green now, right? They're no longer in the red. Everything's fine. They're just going to get in the red again because they're fucking stupid. I'm not saying everyone who gets in debt will, but most people who get in debt tend to get in debt again.
Well, no, I don't believe so. If
you're willing to spend other people's money when you have none, you're going to spend other people's money when you have it as well. Like, you're only going to keep making the same mistakes over and over and over again.
Yes,
it's like alcoholics. They get off alcohol, they get back on alcohol. It just keeps going and going and going. It's endless mistakes. You can't teach an old dog new tricks. That's what I think.
For some people, it will probably be like that. But if you got into debt and that's been horrible to you, and then you can finally pay off your debt, why would you go into debt?
You're thinking so short term here. You're thinking of it as in, you take the average Joe, you give them a bunch of money, they spend it, and their life's great forever. It doesn't work that way. They get used to it. They get used to their new lifestyle, and they crave more, because it's always human nature to crave more. The only people you ever find who are satisfied with what they've got are either, one, pensioners who know their time's coming, or two, people literally on the verge of death who have accepted it. The average person will always want more. You've got 100 subscribers, I want 1,000. 1,000? Oh, I've got 1,000 now. I want 10,000. Now I want 100. I want 1,000,000. I remember thinking that it's like in games, right? You say like, I'll be happy if I get like 10 kills this match, and then you get 10 kills, and then you're like, fucking, I want 20. You always want more, and so you're thinking of it as if when they get given the money and they spend it, that's the end point. You need to think long term.
I've never said that. The question isn't whether a large chunk of money would buy you happiness for the rest of your life. It's happiness. Like, you might be happy for a year, you might be happy for a week, you might be happy for 10 years, but that's still happiness. You might not be happy, I don't know, 20 years from now.
That's just petty. That's petty. That's clearly not the question. That's surface level. Of course, money would buy happiness in that way, but it's long term. Look at most people who win the lottery. They end up saying they wish they never won it. That is crazy.
I don't believe most people.
They do. They do. Most people who win the lottery wish that they no, really, most people.
Yeah, then most people have no clue how to spend money.
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm saying, because most people.
I don't believe that. I don't believe most people don't wish they had won the lottery.
That's because you've not won it. Let's go back to the question. Let's say you won $1 million. You think your family are not going to expect a big chunk? You think that people who know you or did know you aren't suddenly going to come out the woodwork and go, hey, I'm dying here and you're a millionaire. Why? What the fuck? Why are you not doing this? That's what happens when people win the lottery.
First of all, if I won money, I wouldn't tell anyone.
I know, that's a smart thing to do. But some people would know, though.
Who would do that?
A lot of people, they go out there and with like these champagne bottles and start popping it off on TV. They're fucking more. I know, but that's what. Most people who win the lottery do that. They don't go anonymous as you should. So that's what I'm saying. I'm saying that there's a lot of you're thinking of all the upsides, but there's a lot of downsides of having a lot of cash as well.
Obviously, but I believe that money can buy happiness if it's spent right.
That just goes without saying. But it's not the be-all, end-all.
No, of course, there needs to be other things as well. You can't just be given a chunk of money and that's it. Everything is cured.
Yeah, I mean, if you give a moron $1 million, they're just going to waste it.
Yeah, if you give a monkey an iPad, he can't.
Yeah, pretty much. Well, as I said earlier, what would you do? You got $1 million in your bank. You just woke up. You've been given it. What would you do?
Well, I know exactly what I would do. I would buy my mother a nice little house in an area where she wants to be. And then I would buy us a nice little house. I would put some of the money into your business so you could grow it and expand and everything. I would get a dog, obviously. I would get some medical things done to me. And then I would just...
Like what?
Like surgery.
Surgery for what?
To fix imperfections.
What imperfections?
Well, my nose, for example.
What's wrong with your nose?
I can't breathe.
Yes, you can.
Not properly.
Alright, so if I covered your mouth, you would just pass out.
Well, I could actually.
Bullshit. You can breathe.
True, Alex.
You can breathe from your nose.
Not properly. Not 200%.
You see, this is a good point. The more money you have, the more, obviously, it's like the more power you have, the more possibilities, the more doors open up to you. And I think that's overwhelming for a lot of people, especially a lot of people who have had doors that are all closed and suddenly they all open up. It's like the possibilities are overwhelming. It's like on Steam, there's a sale today. Summer sale has started on Steam, which for those who don't know is like this games store, digital games store. And, games go from being like £20, $20 each to like $2 each. And it gets to a point where there's so much choice, it's overwhelming. It's like, my God, there's a bag in here, 90% off, 75% off there. I don't know what to buy. It's so overwhelming. And a lot of the times I don't end up buying anything, which it's like misses the entire point of the sale, really. But it's like the choice can be overwhelming. And I think...
I wasn't done with what I was gonna do with my money.
Well, go ahead.
Well, I'm also going to take you to a specialist and get your back fixed. That would improve your life a lot.
Yeah.
Yes, and I would get some.
I have a bit of my back is a bit strange. It's in pain a lot, but that's because I sit down about 20 hours a day. So yeah, that would help.
And I would get some help, like some proper help for my skin condition.
Right. So, but okay. So now that all this is done,
I'm not done yet.
I know, but you'll be here all day listing endless amounts of things. So now that, let's say that was done, right? We're still going to have problems in the future. Like our life is not set. We're not going to go off into the sunset.
No, but we have got off to a really good start. And we have a really good foundation to stand on.
Well, absolutely. But now our standards throughout life has increased. Like we're right now, at this point in our life, we're used to living in shitholes, like garbage neighborhoods, crime-filled neighborhoods, having to check everything. It's not nice. And we're sort of used to having to count the pounds and the pennies and, don't buy that unless it's necessary. I mean, you will not buy a game on Steam unless it's under £1. I mean, Jesus Christ, we are like the cheapest people ever because you have to be in a way. Because if you're barely making anything, you can't go around spending your cash if you're a reasonable person. But if we had this, well, I'm saying that we would get used to having the nice house and we would be like, oh yeah, well, we can spend the money. And it would be like, the money runs out.
Yeah, but look, everything I was gonna spend money on is necessities. Things to help us improve, your back, my condition. It's like things that would be done, and it's like teeth. I would get new teeth. Just things like that would actually improve.
Yeah, but a lot of people don't think as reasonably as you. A lot of people wouldn't think, I'll get my accommodation sorted and I'll get health sorted out. They think, I'm going to blow it on a fucking sports car, Mercedes, Tango orange, 200 miles per hour. and then they don't realise after that when they get sick of driving around like a bell end and their engine's on full blast and everyone's pissed off with it. Believe me, I know what that's like. It's like they don't think in the distant future, and then they get sick of it, and then they realise that they needed more than that money, and that's the point. Like, you're using you as an example. You do not think like the majority. Like you like, most people are not long-term thinkers. They think quick, and I think, and that's what I'm saying here. It helps to a point.
But if I had all of that money, I still wouldn't waste it. I wouldn't go on.
But most people would.
Vacation.
You think most people? You think most people wouldn't?
I would get a decent.
No, forget it. You think most people wouldn't waste the money?
Look, my faith in people has gone down drastically.
You're not the only one.
So maybe you're right. Maybe I just think too highly of people.
Yeah. Well, actually, we can find out, because we asked the people.
What would you do if you won $1 million?
Pretty much the same. I mean, first and foremost, it would be accommodation, because we live in an absolute shithole. Like the neighborhood is a garbage. It's crime filled. It's awful. I hate it here. I'd like a place where I can go outside and take the newly bought dog. That's another thing I would get out for a walk without feeling like I'm gonna step on a needle and get, hepatitis or AIDS or something, right? That'd be the first thing. I'd probably spend a large chunk of the cash on that. You'd want to make sure that your family, both of our families, were also living in somewhat, not as good as ourselves, because then we'd be completely out of the strap for cash. But we're living in decent places where they didn't have to worry about the same things. Mm-hmm. Yeah, health things, sort my back out. Whatever things you want. And then, but most of it would be saved, because if you spend all the cash, basically you've got nothing to live on then, do you? You've got to save a large chunk of it. So, yeah, I mean, but again, I think, what do I want in life? Like, what is like my grand goals? Like, what would I die happy knowing that I've done? And to do that, it's like, I want to make something, a business, that people really enjoy and people remember, and it makes people really, really happy. Like, this still sounds so corny, right? But this is really like the fundamental to me. I want, when I say the world, I don't mean literally every single place and every single person, because that's impossible. No one has ever changed the world in that way. But I'd want the place to be a little bit better with the fact that I existed than not. Maybe not totally, but like I would want the mathematical sum total of my existence to be plus happiness, in the end. And money can't get that. It can help with that, but that can't do that. I think this is where me and you have a difference here. It's that, and I think you would agree with me actually. We make the false assumption that a lot of people think like that, because you think like that. And I think like that. A lot of people don't think like that. A lot of people don't give two fucks about whether or not they leave Earth. Like, Earth is left better, and people have been left better from their existence or not. A lot of people just care about themselves. A lot of people just care about their own happiness, and that can be like materialistic. It can be popularity, fame. It's like things like that. I think, to them, money probably would buy happiness, because that's all they care about. But that's not true happiness. That's a showcase of a sad lack of character development. I don't know if I explained that right, but you know what I mean?
Yes, I do. And I also remember now that I need to invest a lot of my money, because I want my money to grow so that I can take care and help all the poor homeless dogs and cats. And hedgehogs.
Yeah, sure. Okay. Well, sure. Well, anyway, as we were saying though, we think that people would spend the money poorly, probably.
Probably the majority, yes.
Well, let's see.
I think it can buy happiness for a lot of people that are a little bit responsible.
Well, let's see. We asked the people of the internet. Well, actually, we didn't actually ask them, does money buy happiness? We asked them a bit more specific question. We asked them if they got $1 million, how would they spend it? And what, would it improve their lives? Would it be life changing? And so let's see the responses, names as well. Let's see.
Okay, Shithead said retire.
Shithead?
Shithead.
What? Shithead.
Yeah.
Not shithead. Shithead. Whatever, go on.
Well, Shithead said retire in the countryside and live a peaceful life.
Retire implies that he's pretty old, so...
It doesn't necessarily have to be old.
Who the fuck retires at 21? No one retires at 21.
Nobody can be in his 40s.
Whatever. Yeah, sure, maybe, I guess. I mean, I don't really blame people for going in the middle of nowhere, considering how fucked most Western cities are these days. I imagine you want some nice peace and quiet, frankly, so I don't blame you.
Lunatic McGee said, I would take care of my debts, my wife's debts, give some money to my godson and my parents, make a college saving for my child, and the rest put into retirement. It would change my life for the better. Debt-free is the dream.
Why did he get in debt in the first place?
College, probably.
College?
Probably mortgages as well. Right.
Mortgage is technically a debt, but I never think of it as one, because it's like if you don't... that's sort of like... mandatory. That's why it's not treated as a debt. It
could also be medical. I mean, that's a necessity. Can't really.
Yeah, look, I'm not going to judge the guy and say, well, you're an idiot for getting in debt, because I don't know, what his situation is in. But it's weird because he seems to be quite responsible with money. Because though he says he's in debt, he says he would use it for he says he would save a lot of it, and that's not usually a trait of someone who's in debt. But did he say something about college?
Yeah, he would make a college saving for his kid.
That's a very unwise decision. Frankly, if he got in, he couldn't have got in debt with college and then make the same mistake afterwards. Listen, this is going a bit off topic here, but I know that we're probably going to get a lot of college things. First of all, I don't know why people have to pay for college anyway. Like, I'm gonna sound like Bernie Sanders or something like that, and it'd be unusual for a conservative person to say this, but no one should have to pay for education. Like that if education is meant to be the gateway to doing things, why on earth is there a financial gateway? Why is there a debt? Even if you have to pay it off after, that makes absolutely no sense to me whatsoever. But secondly, college is losing its power anyway. The average, 50 years ago, the average person in a college or university was a smart person and a guaranteed intellectual. Today, you have the biggest boneheads on the planet. If you're going to go to college and get in debt, because it frustrates me that people get in debt to go to these shitholes, at least make sure that the course is worthwhile. Because there's a lot of fluff, scam courses in colleges. I think I can tell this person must be old. And by old, I mean like over 40. A lot of people will hate me saying that, but you know what I mean. I don't mean ancient, but I can tell because back then college used to mean something, but now it doesn't. For the vast majority of people, it doesn't mean anything anymore. It just annoys me. But yeah.
The Fiend Hitman said, invest it with a reputable financial manager. Maybe if I have kids, it might be enough to put them through college one day. Maybe it will buy me a retirement home, who knows? But it will grow a lot in 30 to 40 years before I retire, that's for sure.
It's not for sure. I thought you give your money to a complete stranger and say, hey, invest this for me. You think they're going to care as much as you would when it's your own money? No, they view it as free money, and they just if they make the money, that's a bonus for them. If they lose the money, it's no skin off their nose, is it? You got to be careful giving. If you have a large sum of money, you got to be careful giving it away to other people. Be careful.
If I got $1 million, the person saying this is called Della Bella. If I got $1 million, I would set half of it aside for my dad to retire on, and the other half I would use to get through my medical school and training, so I can make enough to support my family when they get too old to support themselves. Edit, I would also pay off the vet bills of an amazing dog shelter that I've been following. It's about $30,000 and would make the world of difference for those dogs.
So you win $1 million and you pay it to go to college so then you can make more money. And secondly, you would pay off $30,000 from a business that clearly is inept because they're $30,000 in debt. Even if you pay that off, do you think they're not going to get in debt again? That to me is exactly the problem. Like that's the average. That is like what the average person would do. It's like their life. They give half of it away, and then they would do the exact same thing as they would if they didn't have the money, and then give it away to people who are financially inept. It's like that. This is the thing. They would be right back in square one in a year if they spent the money like that. Am I wrong there or what?
So if you were in this person's shoes, you would not do the medical school. You would just instead maybe make your own dog shelter.
No, exactly. Like they're not thinking. They're not thinking properly. Like you have a dog shelter, right? And don't get me wrong. I'm not getting angry that they would give money to a dog shelter. Obviously, that's a good thing. But I'm saying if you have a business, and a dog shelter is a business, whether people like it or not, and it's $30,000 in debt, and you give them $30,000, they're still inept. They're going to get in more debt. You can throw money at people who are financially inept and they'll still lose it all. You're going to have to give them another $30,000 in a year. So why, rather than go through the system, rather than help an already established failed business, why not use the money to make your own? And rather than you, who is now rich at this point, going through a useless college, why don't you hire the nurses who already have? And that way, you can help dogs and you can do whatever you want to do, basically stress-free. And why would you give half of your money away to your family? Look, I get it. You probably want them to live well, etc. But bloody hell, you know what I mean? Like that's half of it.
Money, yeah.
Like, come on, like there's retiring and then there's taking the piss, and that's taking the piss. Like, you're going to be around, this sounds awful, but you're going to be around a lot longer. And you remember, you can make money with money. If you have $1 million, that's a great platform to make a lot of money with, right? Don't waste it all. See, it's just spend, everything spend. There's no making. That is a prime example of a fuck up, in my opinion.
Emma K. 24 said, $1 million would be awesome. I do love somewhere where it's quite expensive, so buying a house would work, but it wouldn't be big. I don't want a big house for myself, but I have been living in poverty in quite some time. I would love to have a place where I could have people going through the same as me, teenagers escaping an abusive household, where they can feel at home. Teach them some life skills, like give them cooking lessons and help with laundry. Even give them access to computers that work so they can focus on their education, so they can grow bigger, rather than force us to stay where they are. So I guess the best approach is to go outside the city a bit so the house is bigger and it can host more people.
Kind of like that, but kind of don't, because on the one hand, if you give a bunch of young people and put them together and then you give them a bunch of free stuff, it's probably going to end up like some sort of meth lab. Yeah, it's going to look like the Chaz. It's going to look like awful. But if you take people who are responsible, like, there's some guy who's like 19 and his parents were like drug addicts and he wants to do something with his life and you help him out. Well, that can only be applauded. But you can only do that for a small amount of time because it's not making any money. Like, if you were to do that, how would you make your capital to carry on doing that? Otherwise, it's just going to be a 1-year fizzle and that's it. And you're not going to help a lot of people by doing that. See, people don't think long term.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking as well. I mean, it's great what he or she wants to do, but eventually run out of money if you're not going to do anything to make that money back.
Exactly. But with the money, this is the thing, with $1 million, you can make another $1 million quite a lot easier than you can make $1 million with $1,000, right? Mm-hmm. So rather than get the $1 million and spend it all and waste it in a year and then go, fuck, I'm out of money, why not, think smart with it and make more money? That's what we did. That's what we did. We didn't win $1 million, but I'm saying, in our what would we do? Sure, we spent a lot of it so we could live well, but a lot of it went to being reserved to go towards businesses to make more.
Yeah, I said I would invest a lot in your business.
I wonder how long it takes for us to find someone who says that.
Doki Literature said, I would buy an entire island to myself, get some defense force in there too, and have a nice bar as well.
Well, that does sound pretty badass, but good luck getting an island for $1 million. Well, if you can find me an island for $1 million, tell me about it. But yeah, that sounds like a John McAfee lifestyle. But I say this to you, Doki literature. If you got that island, you'd be bored shitless, and you would be like, fuck, I want more things now. So you wouldn't be happy forever, but you probably would be for quite a while. But I want to know where you can buy an island for $1 million.
Homosexual said, invest in those things that you can only...
What are these fucking names?
I don't know. Invest in those things that you can only take out when you are past 60. Imagine the fucking interest.
Assuming you live until 60. That's something that a lot of people don't think. When a lot of people, like let's say you had a son or daughter, we've heard the stories of like rich people being killed by their own family so they can get the inheritance. Like, bloody hell, man. You know, like, I admire your saving, but what are you going to do at 60? Like, the average person lives until what? Men 80, women 85 in the first world. So you've got like 25 years to enjoy your life, 20 years to enjoy your life. But you've got to wait, like, let's assume the guy's like 20 or something. You've got to wait like 40 years to do it.
Yeah, wouldn't it make sense to maybe do that with half the money and then spend half the money on other things, like to improve
honestly, life? I'd just do it for like if I had to do it, I'd do it for like a tenth of the money. You know, like just as an absolute backup plan. You know, but Christ, not all of it. You know.
Toolman Timmy said, I would be the best person I could be and try to help good people also. I'd still live quietly, I think. I just hope it wouldn't boost my ego and turn me into a bad person.
I think that's like sunshine and rainbows, you know what I mean? It's a bit vague to comment on, like, I would help people. It's like if you ask someone, who are you? And it's like, oh, I'm a good person. It's like, well, what does that entail? You know what I mean? It's like, but I find a lot of the people who say that they would help others, like that's their first thought, typically end up wasting it all, I imagine. You know what I mean? Because they get taken advantage of. I heard about this. A woman who won like the lottery, she won like £50 million or something. She said, I'm going to use all of this money to help people after I've got the house or whatever. She ended up wasting all the money on people who didn't even need it because she was guilt tripped and emotionally manipulated. Like, you got to be careful these days, folks.
Yeah, and if you have that much money, you don't really know who your friends are. So I would probably just help my old friends and family.
All the people who come out the woodwork, yeah.
MVGR 9011 said, 1 million is a huge amount where I am from. Well, I would like to have a house for like 10% or less. Put 40% in savings, 40% in investments, and 10% to start my own firm. So yeah, it would drastically change my financial stability in life.
Now that I like. Yeah. That guy's smart. He didn't say, oh, I'm going to go on a fucking boozer and... No, that guy has got it thought out. And you can tell that is someone who would legitimately benefit from having that cash because the end all is not materialistic items. He's thinking long term. Like, that's a really smart answer.
Reality Slapper 406 said, pay off part of my mortgage and then refinance the loan. Now that I have a lower monthly payment, I can afford to order fast food delivery more often.
Is that it?
Yep.
Fuck off, he's taking the piss. Jesus Christ. How much of a fat bastard are you if you're buying that $1 million worth of fast food? Are you Archie? Is that Archie?
Don't pretend we wouldn't do that to you.
Hey, I'm going to be real. I'd probably make my own McDonald's if I had a lot of money. Not for $1 million, but if I had like loads of money, I'd probably franchise a McDonald's. That'd be cool as hell having your own McDonald's.
Or just get your own chef.
Yeah, I know, but wouldn't it be cool to have your own McDonald's though?
Well, I wouldn't personally think so, but I guess.
Why? What?
I don't want that.
Free McNugget?
I want a dog shelter.
Alright, whatever. Hey, McDonald's or a dog shelter. Pick. You can only have one. I know what I would pick. Sure. Oh, McDonald's.
Soft Explanation 2 said, save all of it into my retirement fund. Retire at 45. Live in the countryside with video games, cats, and a huge farm.
Yeah, again, like, I admire your saving, but you've missed the point of the saving. Like, you've saved to artificially restrict the wealth for absolutely no reason at 45, and then you're just going to booze it all away on things that you'll get bored of anyway. Again, there's no spiritual sort of purpose there. That's someone, I think, who struggles. Like, they don't really know what they're doing with their life. Am I looking into this too deep? Am I being Mystic Meg here? That's what I think, though, really.
I mean, it's just one sentence, or well, two, so...
I know, I don't expect people to have really, like, gone in meditation in, like, a chamber and thought about this, you know, but on the surface, you know.
Ruby Dobie 5 said, I would start a dog training company for people who need support animals, and have a small house with a porch that I can look at the mountains from.
Is this you? That's pretty smart. Again, you know, you've spent it on yourself. You've improved your own life, but then you're reinvesting it into future endeavors to do what you want to do and make the world better. You can only admire that.
Okay. Bumpy Ride said, it would be great. I'm retired, and that would be enough to allow my wife to retire also. She's 84.
Yeah, I mean, if his wife is 84, right, then he's probably like in his 70s. Probably he's probably an old dude. At lowest 60s, I imagine, like late 60s.
Why can't he be 80 as well?
It could be, but but the fact that he specifically said that she's 84. Yeah. Why would he not mention that he's also in his 80s? Because that's pretty impressive, right? But yeah, if you're old, then I would say you let off if you want to spooze it all the way, because what are you going to reinvest it in? I mean, fucking hell, if you're 84, you'd be lucky if you're around a year. You know what I mean? Like go ahead, go fucking nuts at that point. But if you've got family, obviously, you've got to reserve a lot for them. But at that point, fuck it, enjoy your life. You know what I mean? I'm just saying, if you're 20 and you blow it all, hey, you're not thinking. But fucking hell, 84, Jesus Christ, I can't imagine being 84. 84, like, oh my God. How old?
You know my fake grandmother?
Yeah.
She still works, she still worked part-time until she was like 83 or something like that.
Fucking hell.
But she didn't do it because she had to, but because she liked it.
Well, this is a good point. A lot of the times, the people who work the oldest, they think that they're the people who sit on their arse all day, but it's not. It's the people who work the hardest, weirdly, because, you know, I have a family member and they got like ancient and they had to retire. And it's only after they retired have they been, like, health-wise going downhill. When they were up at 7 a.m. and working all the time, they were in good spirits and good health. But ever since they stopped, it's like the body just shuts down. It's like a battery, you know, you use it or lose it. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I mean, it's crazy.
Drop It Like It's Not One said, I would pay for my healthcare and help other people if I could.
Yeah, I mean, obviously you pay off your healthcare, but be careful of giving all your money away. You know what I mean? Like he said, if I could. Very wise words there, but be careful of giving your money away.
I just think it's sad that pay off his healthcare obviously must be a lot. And
I've had a rant about education. I'm gonna have a rant about healthcare now. Yeah, I mean, Jesus Christ! If you have to, if people die in a first world country due to poverty, that's fucked. Yeah. Like, that is really fucked. That's not to say that public healthcare is fantastic, because it's a fucking mess. Mm. But yeah, it's like both sides suck.
Jar Jar Binks Sucks said, it would mean I could take a job that I wanted instead of one I have to do to pay the bills and rent.
Damn right. I mean, it's exactly what I've been saying. Do you remember that show I made like a year ago? It wasn't on Real Talk.
Oh, the wage slave thing.
Wage slavery thing, yeah, where I talked about. I had a friend of mine, and I'm not friends with him anymore, thank God. But all he did, basically what happened was, we had been waiting for this game to come out, and we had waited for this for years. I'm literally years. That's not an overstatement.
Yeah, like 10 years.
10 years for me, like 5 years for him. We'd waited a long time, and it finally came out. And on day one of this game coming out, we're all gonna play it together. And he was on it for, I shit you not, 10 minutes. And then he said, right, I'm gonna go to bed. And I was gobsmacked. I was like, what? You're going to bed? We've waited for this for like 10 years, 5 years, and you're going to bed? What are you doing? And he's like, I got to go to work. And it's like, okay, I get people have to work, no shit, but you've waited for this for that long. Could you not take a day off? Could you not take it easy for a while?
Yeah, wouldn't you think that he would work extra hard leading up to that point so he could take like a few days off? Or something?
Yeah, exactly. But it's like, but it's like this thing. I know if he would have stayed and played, it would have made him unbelievably happy. But it's like looking at a man in chains. It was like he said he couldn't because his boss would get angry at him or something. And I was like, why do you live? Do you live to be some guy's bitch, or do you live to be happy? I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that people should never work and just sit around and do fuck all with their lives all day. But when you've waited for something for 10 years or 5 years, come on. Like, that's serious. That's like, would you miss the birth of your son or daughter because you got to work, or you got to flip some Big Macs or something? No, you wouldn't. Because it's an important part of your life. It's like some things you don't miss. And that annoyed me, and it got me thinking about how a lot of people are just wage slaves. They work not because they want to, but because they need to. And it's like this trap where people, they get in debt, they need more money to pay off the debt. How do you get money? You work. And so they work to pay off the debts, and they work literally to live. And this just goes on for years and decades, and before they know it, their life's over. And they never did anything with their life.
Yeah, and that's one of the biggest reasons why I think that money can buy happiness. Because imagine not having to be a wage slave, not having to go up early every morning.
You don't have to be like that, though.
Well, most people are in that situation, though.
But they don't have to.
No, they don't have to, but most people are in that situation. And imagine...
That's their own fault.
Yes, but imagine if they could do something that they actually liked, so they look forward to waking up every morning.
I'm saying, if you get yourself in that situation, you have low mental willpower. Because someone with high mental willpower, I sound like someone who does astrology. Like, if someone who like that would not get themselves in that situation, they'd go crazy. They'd be like, "Fuck this! I'm not doing this." They would call the boss up and say, "Hey, dickhead, listen, I'm gonna be doing this today. Like it or lump it, bye bye." Like they would not let themselves be in that situation. Yeah, and so you know it wouldn't work.
No, that's true. But most people, if they do it like that, then you know they'll just get fired because the boss knows that there's a lot more loyal people out there.
Just live a life of being like poverty. Well, you can call it poverty, but at that point, I like personally, I gotta go. What would I do? And I would never be a wage slave, ever. I'd rather be the poorest fucker on the planet and at least do something I want to do than just work at McDonald's or something like that. That's not a jab at people who work at McDonald's. I always say people shouldn't look down on fast food workers, but I'm saying that I absolutely would never, ever be someone's bitch in that way. I wouldn't. You call it pride, call it ego, whatever, but I just think that's wrong. Every person should work to do something that they love and they want to do, and something that they're really passionate about, rather than just work for the sake of working. Some jobs humans shouldn't do. AI should do it. Robots should do it. Like McDonald's. Like, who the fuck's passionate about working at McDonald's? No one. Well, I'm sure there's someone, but hardly anyone. And I think, luckily, one of the upsides about the coming decades is that you won't really have people working in McDonald's. I'm willing to put money on the table and say in 2040, no human being will be working in the kitchens of McDonald's. I can tell you that much. It'll be robots. So that's went off on a bit of a tangent there, but hey, there you go.
Wanderlust 444 said, "I would instantly put down money on a small property for me and my daughter to live in. That money would cover property taxes for 20 years until she's old enough to move out, and the rest I would put towards her college fund. Or towards any dreams she wants to pursue when she's older."
It's going so good until the college fund thing, you know what I mean?
Property taxes for 20 years, that just sounds sad.
Yeah, that sounds like really calculated. yeah. Why are they not making any money? Like that sounds like from a perspective of someone who can't make money, and that maybe they're disabled or something. I don't know, but yeah, that's not a way to spend the cash, in my opinion.
I see Deaf said, "Lots. I would use it to go to college, to make a difference in the world, and then I would pay the rest forward."
You know, you can make a difference in the world without going to college. Like, can we stop we need to like take a hammer to this propaganda of college is everything. Like, that's so drilled into people. You do know, if you had $1 million, do you know the power you have as an entrepreneur then? Do you know what you could do with that money, business-wise? Like, you why on earth would you pay criminals for a piece of paper so you can work for someone else when you've got more money than probably your future boss has? Like, what? Does that make any sense to you?
Well, not to me personally. Blew off my leg off said, pay off my debts, move out of my shitty apartment, buy a small modest house. I miss having a yard.
Yeah, but again, it's all materialistic, isn't it? You know, like you would just you'd be pissed off after you did all that, right? So you got to think of a higher purpose than that, I think.
Nice Tangerine said, pay off my debt, finish my degree, get my own place, and store/invest the rest for the future. Maybe buy treasure if I'm feeling wild. Buy treasure? What does that mean?
Well, alright, because I'm going to assume that you're getting a degree for something that you really like. I mean, that is something that I've left out here. If you go to college to do something you really like, sure. But yeah, props for the investing. It sounds like I'm some sort of financial manager, and I'm like judging people and grading them based on their responses to a casual hypothetical question on Reddit. You know, it's like it's not like that. But hey,
Coley Smokes said, I would take care of my family, then fuck off to live in a small cabin on the outskirts of a small town, and work at a little flower shop on the main strip, and spend my free time gardening and traveling and baking bread.
Well, hey, if that's what makes you happy, Mr. Stardew Valley. Yeah, I mean, if that's what makes you happy, but Christ, you know, that sounds like someone who hates humans. You know, they're just like, ah, fuck this, I'm out of here. Just want to tend to my garden. Yeah, all right, sure, if that makes you happy.
Scarecrow said, I'd use it to move into a nice apartment with my boyfriend. Ideally one with a nice
apartment. Where the fuck do you live? Do you live in United Arab Emirates? For you got $1 million? Not a million pennies. What apartment are you gonna get?
Maybe
what you?
York.
Bloody hell! I never get this. You said this. Everyone says this, right? So in the UK, we got this problem where in London, the average house is like £500,000, like $500,000, and in the north, it's like 150,000 for the exact same house, right? It's like double the price in London. And I always say, if you were wealthy, why the fuck, unless you needed to for business reasons, why on earth would you live in an overpriced city when you can just live, like, you have like a mansion in the north rather than a cabin in London? You know what I mean? Like, come on. Like, city life is so overrated.
Well, should I continue with that one?
Yeah.
She wasn't done. Well, she'd move into a nice apartment with her boyfriend, ideally one with a nice park nearby that we can take our dogs to. I'd save the rest for after I finish college and use it to get us a cozy house in some scenic location with a big yard.
The dumbest response, yeah. That's so stupid. You'd use $1 million to get an apartment and then go to college. And then you would get a house. It's like, you have $1 million. You have $1 million. What are you going to college for? Why don't you just make a business for what you're going for and hire the people who graduate? And then they're your bitches. You don't need to be a bit... What's wrong with these people? You know, come on.
Temple of Bone said, I'd pay off all my debt, my father's debt, and take him on vacation to Australia.
Alright. Just make sure you don't get in debt again. Over and over and over again. I actually do sound like I'm some sort of financial manager here. I didn't expect there to be so many. How many is there left?
Not that many.
Alright, go on then. Just burst through.
Polysnip said, I would immediately invest in a stock or bond that pays dividends so that I can earn a significant passive income. I honestly don't think I want to retire early, especially not right away, but it would go a long way in helping me do the things that I want to do to live my life.
Very wise and smart and rehearsed response. Absolutely.
And then the saddest one, just a bunch of random letters said, pay for my dad's chemo.
Yeah, that's fucking sad. Again, if you need money to live for healthcare, that is ridiculous. It's just sad. It's unbelievable. But yeah, there you go. $1 million. But as you can see, there were some smart responses there. A lot of investment, a lot of looking long term, but a lot of them were just materialistic, and the fucking college ones infuriate me. Like, come on, use your brain. Like,
I was a little bit surprised that almost every one of these said that they would pay off debt. That everyone.
I know. I feel like I'm the only person who's not in debt. Like, look, folks, if you haven't got the money, don't take what's that quote? It's like if you don't feel comfortable spending your own money, don't spend other people's money, or something like that. Like or something like that. It's like I don't know how. Apart from a mortgage, which is the only debt I can really understand. What are you doing?
I imagine most of them are just mortgages and maybe some college things.
I don't know. Well, a lot of people pay cars. They get cars on finance. A friend of mine. You know. This is true. Guy was like 19, right? And yeah. You know who it is. And he was working at like I don't know. He was like doing something with routers or something like that. Not a lot. It must be like minimum wage. Mm-hmm. Guy got finance for a car for 20 grand. 20 grand debt at like 19. What the fuck?
Why would you get a car like that when you just learned to drive?
Because it's all about the materialism. I know, but that's what I'm saying. Look, you know what? Debt really pisses me off. You know, maybe we should do a show about this sometime.
That money could definitely not make your friend happy.
No, but we should do a show about this sometime, whereby we talk about like, those payday loans. That like single mums in council estates end up getting a payday loan with like 1,500% APR, and they get like £100. God, that makes me almost burst in tears now. It's like, folks, like this is good advice for literally anyone. Doesn't matter if you're rich or poor, really. Never, ever get in debt. Ever. I will never get in debt. If I ever get in debt, cut my balls off because I'm not me anymore.
It depends on what debt it is. I mean, mortgages.
Well, mortgage is one thing. That's I don't view that as a debt. That's a necessity. But if you get in debt for like a flashy car or some computer or something, like do not get in debt.
You don't need a flashy car. You need a car.
A TV. People get TVs on finance. Remember that in like 2005 when people would get like a 50-inch plasma because that was like a big deal having a plasma on finance. Fucking hell, man! Debt is a crippler. Never,
Some people get their phones on that too.
I know. Yeah, really. A grand phone in finance. Like, we should do a show on debt. We should do a show on debt. I think that'd be fantastic. But yeah, bloody hell! Like
it would make you a bit too angry.
It would make me furious. It would make me feel absolutely. Oh no. But yeah, never get in debt. But that's quite interesting. But can money buy happiness? I think we both agree.
It depends on the person.
Depends on the person. To a point, yeah. If you're like a airhead who's just materialistic, yeah, factually it will, because you've not sorted your life out, you've not found your greater purpose. But for most people, unless you're in poverty, to a point, at that point, money is a tool to help you do what you want to do. It's not the goal. It's a tool, right? It's like the hammer.
It can be a tool, but yeah.
If you're smart, if you've got a purpose in life, it is a tool to do what you want to do. It's not the goal.
But yeah, it depends on the person and their circumstances.
Yeah. So, can money buy happiness?
Puss on.
Kinda.